All right, 7 minutes after 10 o'clock. You know, I knew we had an attorney coming into the room, but I didn't know she was going to be so pretty. She's in the studio right now, and she's here. We're not talking about law. I don't think it's going to come up a whole lot. We're actually talking about a movie that's going to be made out of a book. The book is called Song of Eve. The attorney is Cynthia Tolbert. She works here in the Cascades. Am I right, Cynthia? Right?
For the past 10 years.
For the past 10 years, okay. You must be on the other side of the pond.
I was over here for 5, and I've been on the other side for the past 5.
See, I'm stuck in this little office, this little studio. That's why I don't know anybody out there. Cynthia is here. She's taken on a project, it looks like. The book is called Song of Eve, and it's written by June Strong. But Cynthia is here to talk to us about her role in getting this made into a movie. And there's a YouTube pilot out there, and we're going to find out about this whole... This is an exciting project, Cynthia. Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's see. I do want to ask an attorney question. What type of law do you practice?
Okay, I practice every type of law there is to practice, but now we're trying to focus because we do have other projects which I'm going to discuss with you later. We're focusing on immigration, real property, and we're limiting the amount of family law cases that we're accepting at this time.
Oh, okay. And the reason I was asking is because I was wondering if entertainment law or intellectual property rights law were part of what you do, because both of those would apply to what you're doing with the book.
That is correct. Actually, for the past 2 years, I have been learning about entertainment law from a Christian perspective, and that's what we're going to discuss this morning, one of the things we're going to discuss this morning, but entertainment law. So that is correct, but I have not been doing that, but I've been learning for the past 2 years.
I gotcha. Okay, and it's going to be very helpful in future clients who might be trying to do the same thing you're doing, but now you're jumping in with both feet, aren't you?
Yes, that is correct. That's what I've pretty much always done.
So bottom line is you're making a movie.
Yes, we are.
Okay, now who's we? Who else is in this with you?
Okay, at this point in time, we do not have the backers. We do not have the type of assistance that we need. At this time, we have JBS Production Company, and that would include myself, my assistant, and our tech person. So right now, we have 3 plus those who are praying for us and supporting us, who've started to purchase the book. And, of course, the author, June Strong, she is on board as far as she is behind this project 100%, and she's the one who gave us the copyright to the book.
Okay, so there's so many questions. I don't know where to start, but I'll start with this one. The book is called Song of Eve. This is what the movie's going to be made of. This is your first movie ever, right?
That is correct.
Okay. What happened to you? Just tell me. You must have read the book and said, why isn't this a movie? Right?
I read the book about 20 years ago, and I was just so impressed with it, and then that was that. It's only been within the last couple of years that I felt impressed by God, that all the different people that I've been helping as an attorney, they've all been coming in with conflict situations for the most part. I am a religious volunteer at the Marion County Jail, been there for 10 years. Street ministries here, D.C., South Korea, Alabama. I've done that since I was a child. And so what God impressed me with was you need to start doing something to help all these people before they get into conflict and need an attorney, before they end up in jail, before there's crisis in their lives. And immediately he made me think of Song of Eve.
Oh, okay. Well, that leads to this really important question. Tell me about the story. What is the Song of Eve? What's the story?
Okay, the Song of Eve is actually one of the 2 books that I've read about the time before the flood. It is the only book that I've ever read that is so detailed and picturesque. She actually transports you back in time. She shows you, it's like you can see the people. You can hear the people. The natural views, the flowers, the trees, the food they're eating. It is just amazing. By the time you get to the end of the book, you're like, oh, this is not the end. Keep going. Or where's part 2? It is just an amazing book. So I was amazed by the way she describes it. Okay, she does it such justice. Also, the Song of Eve is a book that is something that we as human beings can relate to. As humans, we have issues, we have problems, And sometimes when you read the Bible, you read and you can't feel the people. You can't feel their distress, their despair.
Right.
But they were humans just like we are, and they had issues just like we do. In the Song of Eve, we have some of the characters, and they're struggling with interpersonal relationships. For example, the main character, she actually falls for a man. And
is his name Adam? Is this Eve?
No, it's not Adam. It's not Eve. Okay. That's conflict there, yes. My goodness. That's why we're in the mess we're in today. But anyway, she actually falls for him, and she has to make a decision. She comes to realize he's not the best person for her, but she's in love.
Okay, but there are other men in the world, right? Unlike the other Eve, right? Right? This is not that Eve, right?
There are other men in the world, but yes, just like today, sometimes we feel like he's the only one who makes my heart skip a beat. He's the only one who takes my breath away, so I can't live without him. And so there's the agony and the ecstasy, and she has to make a decision. Will I stay with him and compromise my beliefs, or will I walk away? And I think a lot of people, for the most of my life, I've been in the church. And so I know what it is to meet a man and to know that he's not the best person for me, and to have to make that decision. I've had to make that decision more than once. I know there are many people listening, many people in the world who've had to make that decision, or know of someone who's had to do it. From the male perspective, there's a man in the book, and he was raised in the church, if you will, the then known church, and he left. Like a lot of young men today, they're waiting. I can't wait until I'm 18 to get out. Right. He left. He went out, and he actually started to be successful in the large city, and he started to get corrupt and contaminated, and he had to make a decision. Will I leave and go back to what I know is best, or will I go on and become powerful and make a lot of money? So he had that struggle within himself, which a lot of young men today have. And so that is why I want to bring out this book, so that people can see, look, the same issues you're dealing with, they had to deal with, God helped them to deal with, and if you want him, he can help you to deal with your issues as well.
For you, it's a very powerful parable.
Oh, yes, it is, most definitely.
And so after 10 years having read it, did you say 10 years ago, right?
I've read it I've been an attorney for 10 years, but I read this book probably about 20 years ago.
20 years ago, okay. So somewhere along the line recently, that you became aware again, or you started thinking again about Song of Eve, and you said, I'm going to make it into a movie. Why a movie? Why not just the book?
Okay. Well, I felt impressed by God. I'm very active in my church. I was a youth director, and I was over several departments for many years. We do a lot of plays in the afternoon for the youth program. So even though I've never made a movie, we've done a lot of plays. We actually did a 3-hour book length. God helped me to script a book. And it was a 3-hour-long play.
Wow.
With the soundtrack and everything that he helped me to do. So we've already done this. We just did not film it. We were not into the technology like that in our church back then. And so we've been doing this for the longest. We just have never professionally made a movie for the world. And the thing is, okay, you can sell a book. There are many people who are never going to read this book. But when we make it into a movie, it can reach the masses around the world.
There are two different types of audiences, definitely. Those who like movies and those who like books, and those who like both. So there's 3 types. That's really true. Now, who is June Strong? Does she live in the area?
No, June Strong, I believe she lives in upstate New York, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And I have actually never met her in person, but we are kindred spirits. I've spoken to her on the phone. I've emailed her. I've sent her letters. But we're kindred spirits, and it's amazing that we are. I want to make sure that I do bring out another thing. Another reason that I want to do this movie, I want to do it in this area. I was born and raised in Marion County. And I want to bring this movie here to this area, to bring jobs here, to help with the economy here. That's something that's been on my heart since the recession started. But I was telling, is it Robin?
Yes.
That last year I took my nieces and nephews to Silver Springs. And I've been reading the articles in the newspaper, the Star Banner, and that is something that's also on my heart. The fact that Silver Springs, it's a first magnitude spring.
Yeah.
It is an amazing place. In the book, The Song of Eve, they deal with a lot of nature, June Strong does. And she just shows you how picturesque and beautiful the world was before the flood. when you go to Silver Springs, it makes you think that, wow, this is how it probably
You know,
looked.
I've wondered how many people have thought that too. I've often thought that. You know, when we think about the world as God intended it to be, and we are believers also, so you have to think, okay, at one time it was the way He wanted it to be, and then we messed up, and then He got rid of all of us except for one family called Noah's family, right? I mean, that's what we're taught. And now we're starting to mess up. We've been messing up all along, and it's starting to get that way again. And you wonder, He said it's not going to flood it again, so are we ever going to get back to that? And you know, when you're with nature, something like Silver Springs, you get this real cool feeling. But even cooler than that is when you're with other people who are just as pure as God wants them to be, and they're rare to find. But once in a while, you will find them. You know, people who don't want to be with you for any other reason than because they love you. They're not trying to sell you something or persuade you to do something other than what you want to do. They want to support you, and so that's why I'm looking forward to the movie. And thank you for coming in. So, what are the nuts and bolts of the movie making process?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I can tell you this. I read a book called Produced by Faith, and in that book, the author, he tells us what to expect. He actually is behind The Karate Kid. He is behind.
That's somebody who should know what to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Karate Kid and In Pursuit of Happiness, I believe it was, and then Jumping the Broom. And he chronicles his life and what he goes through, and he parallels the production industry with your life as a human, as a Christian. And so I've been reading about that. But basically, it can take a lot of years or not. It all depends on your project. So basically, first of all, you want to get a good script. Well, first you want to get the copyrights. If you haven't written the book yourself, you want to get the copyrights to the book.
Well, you need a good attorney for that.
That's right, and you're it.
You want to get a good script written. You want to get someone, if you do not have money, and I do not. God has blessed me with many things, but not money. You want to get someone who will finance the movie. You want a good production crew. God has given me some gifts and abilities, but, as you stated, I haven't done this professionally. So you want to get this done. I want to let you know something else about June Strong. You're talking about people who are selfless and things of that nature. When I sent her the contract, I left the space open for the percentage that she would want from any proceeds, if there are any. Because, sometimes there are no proceeds, sometimes there are a lot. She did not put down an amount. She said, this is not about money. This is about the fact that these people need to know what's in this book.
Oh, see, that's a perfect example right there.
Agree with her.
Yeah.
And that's why one thing we want to do, some of the proceeds, and we pray to God that there are proceeds, we want to start West Side Empowerment. We want to start something that will help the people of all ethnic groups, not just people of African descent on the West Side, to realize their true potential, to learn and to grow and to be able to productively give to society. And so that's another thing that's on my heart as well.
Yeah, well, good for you. You've got your heart in the right place for sure. Now, the money is an issue because you have to pay the cameraman and all that stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I've heard everything from $500,000 to make a film to $14 million or more than that. I mean, the numbers are unbelievable. Even the low end, $500,000. That sounds like a lot to me. Yeah. So
one of the most interesting things that you're really doing with this is that you're giving people courage to actually live their own life, and that if they believe in something and want to have it get done, that they're going to be able to accomplish that. And that is one of the key messages in the book, and that's what you're going to bring to the screen.
And you have to understand my background. I was raised, I don't know if you're from Ocala, but I was born on Northwest 2nd Street for the first 2 years of my life. And I don't know if you've ever been over there.
Oh, we have.
But then you know that, and then when I was 2, we moved to Fort King, Southwest Fort King, okay, not in the historic district, okay, and so I shouldn't even be here in business in the Cascades, should not be an attorney, probably should not have even graduated from high school, but if you know the story of my life, okay, because I know when I first came to the Cascades, I worked as a paralegal, and they said to me, the management, you can't be here. You can't have your own office here. You don't have the money. you don't have the necessary business experience. You don't have the proper credit. And I said, look, I have this contract to do dependency law just got. Immigration amnesty just happened. Just give me a chance. Just please give me a chance. Because I had just become an attorney. They gave me a chance 10 years later. And they will tell you, Dave will tell you, God has helped me to never be late on my lease payment in 10 years. So, and throughout the recession, many attorneys, many of my friends were hard hit. They lost 50, 75% of their business. You know, God has helped me to stay in business. Am I rich? No, I don't have money, but He provides. I believe that God is a provider. And if God impressed me to do this book, it's going to be made into a movie. There's somebody out there maybe listening right now, and I've been praying, who has the money. They have the know-how, and they will contact me by the grace of God.
You have such enthusiasm. It's very contagious. Let's go. If you just heard an echo a second ago, that's because somebody was calling in, and let's go to that call. Good morning. You're on the air. Thank you for calling.
This is No Name.
This is No Name, the gentleman
How
says.
soon does she want to start production?
How soon do you want to start production?
We have the copyright. We are ready.
She's ready.
I'll see what I can do.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go. That echo makes it weird. That echo makes it even weirder.
I hope we can do something.
Yeah, all right.
He needs a cameo, though. He needs a cameo appearance.
All right. Well, there you go. I mean, that might be right there. That might be an opportunity to hook up with somebody who knows how to get the money part of this done. So there you go.
You do something wonderful that you mentioned in the early end of this interview about those who are incarcerated. You have come up with a nice program for them that you try to get them reintegrated into the system.
Yes. In addition to the programs that we have at the jail, we try to help people. We know that people are dealing with different issues. So let's say we have like classes dealing with anger, lust, even sexual issues, marriages. We have all kinds of things that we feature for the young men who are being sentenced as adults. Right now I'm dealing with the juveniles who are being sentenced as adults, the direct files, and then the regular ones.
My goodness, you got your plate full.
Yes, I was with the women for 7 years. I've been with the juveniles now for about 3.5. I'm trying to help them to learn about being men, manhood type training issues, because a lot of them, their fathers are not around. But what we're doing is we've started, we have 2 DVDs on YouTube. We have the short version and the long version, so there are actually 4. One is to the next generation. That is to tell young people about things that I and older people, let's say mistakes we've made in life. We want to teach them so they don't have to make those mistakes.
Yeah.
Or good choices God has allowed us to make. We want to tell them so that they can make those same choices. They don't have to keep going through a vicious cycle of making mistakes the way the older people have. So my burden is for the young people to help them to make better choices. So the first video we made, it actually featured jail ministry. Right now, we don't have enough help down there. The ladies, we have one person who goes and they actually do studies for 60 women. The women line up their Bibles 2 hours in advance of the program just to get a seat. There's 60 more waiting. There's no one to give them studies. We are short. And so the ladies get tired. And so we featured one, and she said, well, yes, sometimes I get tired. And then guess what? We had a special guest hiding in my office who has been in and out of prison and jail most of her life. She was one of our best students. She came out and she said, be encouraged. Your work is not in vain. God is working through you. And she goes and tells her story. She tells how Judge Lambert was going to give her she's supposed to get 30-something years. And he said, I'm not going to give you 30-something years. And she ended up going to the prison, the women's prison in Lowell. And she had cancer and everything.
Wow.
She went through so many things, but they released her early. And then she started her own business in the midst of the recession. Someone without a college degree or anything had 25 people here, a cleaning business working for her. And so she tells, your work is not in vain. And now she's back at the Marion County Jail, and she's a religious volunteer.
Cynthia, I think you are somebody who will get it done, whatever it is. Whatever it is that you set your mind on, you're going to get it done. You've proven that already. This book will become a movie. I wanted to interject something based on what you said. You said you want to show the young people the mistakes we made as older people so that they don't have to make those mistakes.
Yes.
And that is, to me, and here's the one thing that drives me a little bit nuts, and it probably does you too. Well, you know, when you hear these stories about they don't want the 10 Commandments at the courthouse, and I know it's a political issue and everything, but when those 10 Commandments were first handed down, I mean, that's exactly what God was trying to do. Look, if you follow these rules, you'll be happier. You won't make those same mistakes everybody made before these rules were issued. You know, it's pretty simple. Don't kill anybody. Don't steal from anybody. Don't cheat on your wife or somebody else's wife. I mean, don't covet anything. And I mean, it makes all sense. And honor your parents. It just makes a lot of sense. And yet, we have those rules. Not only do we not pay attention to them, but now we don't even want them on our courthouse, even in the artwork. It doesn't make any sense.
Actually, it's interesting you should say that because we discussed that at church, and actually we looked at the 10 Commandments, and when you look at them, we think of their strict rules, but it's about love.
Yeah.
If we really did those things, and I've studied comparative religions, I think all the religions really, what's in the 10 Commandments, they believe in for the most part. Of course, not the satanic ones, but, you know, even like Buddhists and whatnot, there are tenets within the 10 Commandments. The Muslims, they can all believe in. So really, if you lived according to the 10 Commandments, and at church we talk about this, imagine if they didn't have the rules for traffic. Can you imagine how it would be if we didn't have red lights, green lights, yellow lights? It would be total confusion, total chaos. And so, no, that's what we tell the young people. The rules are needed in our society, or there will be mass chaos.
Well, you are obviously 10 interviews, not just one. You are not one interview. The purpose for being here today was to promote the movie. We obviously went in several directions in a very, very short period of time, but I want to end up with the movie idea. So the movie is going to be called Song of Eve, same title as the book, right?
Well, we actually had a competition, and that's how we got this different cover. And everyone had the same response you all had to the new cover, how it's amazing. The young man was in my office for a consultation about family law. I told him about this book. He said immediately this cover, God gave him this cover. He didn't even read the book initially. Oh, wow. And so it's amazing. But no, we actually had a competition for movie titles, and someone won that as well. But basically, we reserved the right to decide what the title is going to be. So at this point,
you're not going to announce it yet.
We don't know what the title is going to be.
But it's going to be based on the book Song of Eve.
Definitely.
You also have some music that when we go in your office, the music plays. And that is wonderful. Is that going to be incorporated in the movie?
The music, we would like to have a Song of Eve album, because you're right. Some of our clients say, wow, this music is so soothing, it ministers to us. But we do want to have, with all original songs, a Song of Eve album. And we do have some people who are trying to work on that. And, of course, if there are any listeners who are skilled in this manner, but we want, if you read the book, songs just come to your mind. And we are going to have an album, the soundtrack and everything else. Okay, so
as this unfolds, let us know. We would love to keep updated on this one. And let's see, what else? Oh, I wanted to ask you this. You mentioned the YouTube videos before. I was a little bit unclear about that. Are the YouTube videos like pilots of this?
They're pilots, but they're not as professionally done as the one we're getting ready to do another one. But there was one more. It's called The Conflict Zone. We filmed it at the Gateway Bank. They allowed us to come in. They were gracious enough to do that here in Ocala on Silver Springs Boulevard. And actually, it's some of the local business people came in from the Star Banner even. And because in life we have conflict all throughout, at work, at home, at church. And so the conflict zone is to help people to realize that, guess what, you're going to have conflict. It's how you deal with the conflict. And so I would like to do a show about that. I actually taught at Rasmussen, a class on interpersonal conflict and communications, and that's what that one is about. But yes, those are two pilots. Cox, we've contacted Cox. We would like to have those on Cox. We're about to do another segment into the next generation, and that is going to be actually Michelle Alexander has written a book about the new Jim Crow, mass incarceration, the age of color blindness. We want to explore some of the things that she brings out in that book. Okay.
Cynthia, we just are out of time. I've enjoyed talking to you. Can you give us a website or a way to find out any more about what you're doing or where to see the videos that you're talking about?
Okay, the videos, and bear in mind, I've been told by the person who's going to do the filming for Cox that they're not professional quality the way you would for television, but they're there. J-Biz Production. You're talking about all lowercase letters, all one word, no spaces. JABEZPRODUCTION, JBez Production, and the number one, not spelled out, the number one. So JBez Production 1, and you would have to look under, like I said, there are two, short version, long version. That is To the Next Generation, short version.
On YouTube,
long
right?
version, The Conflict Zone. And, of course, information about some of the other things I'm doing would be Cynthia-Tolbert, TOLBERT-law.com.
Okay, and that one is on the website. Robin has that one there already on the WOCA website, so she'll put the other one on there just as soon as she can. Cynthia Tolbert, what a pleasure getting to know you. Good luck on everything you're doing. I think you've got some help already coming your way. The caller earlier probably will probably be calling you back. Thank you for coming on the air with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, we'll take a little break and be right back.